Coming your way on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Hope all of you out there having a phenomenal weekend. We're talking birds with the Bird Gang, all of our loyal subscribers, as we take the audience's questions as well as their hot takes and their analysis, allowing them to be a part of the show and drive the ship as well. If you enjoy our mailbag segments, which involve you, we love being an interactive YouTube channel that involves the fan and you being able to voice your opinions and ask your questions, because without you, our success wouldn't be possible here on YouTube, then type me down in the comment section right now. We start off with one of our legends in Paul. Do you think that if we make the playoffs with Jason Kelce still in the building, he'll put the pads back on for a chance at the Super Bowl? This is so fun to talk about just because of the hypothetical nature of it. Jason Kelce, best Eagle center of all time, arguably the best center in the history of the NFL, the personality, the leadership, him smashing beers off the field at the OD&C aisle, just being a man's man and a Philadelphia icon. I know that he's been on the practice field and helping this organization, and throughout the offseason, players were talking about how he was around every single day. Look, if the Eagles are successful and they have a really good year and they make a Super Bowl run or a deep playoff run, part of that success is going to be because they had Cam Jurgens at center and hopefully Tyler Steen at right guard, because those are two players who are important to the future success of the Philadelphia Eagles. You're not going to bench them for Jason Kelce, who hadn't played all year. It just wouldn't happen. But can he travel with the team? Can he be on the sideline? Can he have a coach's polo on and get the boys pumped up to be Jeff Stoutland's assistant coach? I'm cool with that, because at that point in the playoffs, he's not going to have to fulfill his Monday night duties after the wild card round. Dennis Designs, $20 super chat. Okay, Chase, please give me Avonte Maddox's Pro Football Focus numbers and let me know how many Pro Bowls, MVPs, or any other noteworthy claims he has to his name. It is just crazy to me that we can't do better than him. Well, Dennis, I will say this. The Eagles have the deepest secondary that I can remember in a really, really long time. They're definitely a couple of players deep at outside corner. In the slot, you have Tyler Hall and Avonte Maddox. Maybe you're a little bit thin there, but can I interest you in Cooper DeJean playing slot nickel? I'd really like to see that happen, because I think that DeJean could really be a playmaker as a player who you can use all around the field, including that slot nickel role. The athleticism, the instincts, making plays on the football. He had 7 INTs at Iowa. 3 went back for touchdowns, so he's a big play threat. He credited his awareness as a defensive back to him playing quarterback in high school, because it allows him to see and process the game. I'd go Cooper DeJean, starting slot nickel, if he's able to develop. But let's give credit where credit is due. Avonte Maddox, when healthy, has been a good player in this league. The issue, he's pretty much played one full season since coming into the league in 2018. 13 games played, 12, 10, 16, 9, and 4. So when you're playing 13 games the last 2 years, especially when he was making some decent coin, that's a problem. But now he's making a vet minimum salary. So that 2021 season, he was pretty good. And you asked for the Pro Football Focus grades. I'll give them to you here. Overall grade of 72.8. Pass rush grade of 79.9. He can do that sneakily. And then a coverage grade of 76.2. And then in 2022, injury-shortened season, he was still well above league average in those 9 games. He had a coverage grade of 70.3, pass rush grade of 77.6, and an overall grade of 71.3. I think a reason why you and many others are very frustrated with Avonte Maddox, he's been injured far too much. But now, he's barely making any money. Paul, another one. What are your opinions about a comeback tour with tight end Zach Ertz, the legend? I feel like we have little to no strength at tight end, minus Dallas Goedert. So Zach Ertz signed with the Detroit Lions in the lead up to the NFC Championship game after his free agency resulted in him not latching on with the team until prior to the NFC title game after he was let go by the Arizona Cardinals. There were a lot of rumblings with Dallas Goedert injured that maybe the Eagles were going to bring back Zach Ertz. That's something that I thought could have made sense, a security valve for an offense that at that point became very, very stagnant. But this offseason, Zach Ertz, this may have fallen under the radar for some. He signed with the division rival, the Washington Commanders. Signed a one-year deal there. So unless he gets let go, a comeback tour cannot happen. As for the backups behind Goddard, can Grant Calcaterra or Albert Okwuegbunam take that next step? You have CJ Uzomah, who's that big-bodied tight end who's more of a blocker and can catch balls from time to time. But Calcaterra and Okwuegbunam, very gifted athletes, very graceful movers in the open field. They both have to get better as blockers. Can the Eagles develop one of those two players? I hope so, because they can be used as weapons legitimately in this offense, and I'm always a fan of two tight end sets. Andrew Nathan, what do you think the holdup is with Howie trading James Bradberry? I think that he could easily find a pick swap or conditional pick trade for Bradberry. Do you think maybe the money makes it difficult? The money with Bradberry is interesting. Now that it's post-June 1, it obviously changes a little bit. If the Eagles were to cut him post-June 1, it would cost them $4.3 million in dead cap money. They save $0. If they were to trade him post-June 1, it saves them $3 million and then $1.2 million in cap savings. I don't think that's the holdup. The holdup could be for an acquiring team. They know that he has some decent money left on his contract. If the Eagles were to cut him, they can spread out some of that money. There is a roster guarantee of about $9 million this year for Bradberry. That could be an issue. But let's talk about the value. How much realistic value does James Bradberry have? He played so poorly last year, where his numbers in 2023 from the previous season when he was a second-team All-Pro fell off a cliff. So teams aren't willing to give up anything for a declining asset. And that's kind of the issue here with Bradberry. What do you get? 6th, 7th round pick? They might try him at safety and nickel and see what he can do there. If he can't play there and he can't play outside corner, maybe they just cut him altogether. Millie315, he's been with us for a long time, a real one here on the show. Who has a bigger impact this season, Vic Fangio or Kellen Moore? I think the offense has a higher ceiling, but the defense has more room to improve from last year. You put it in a perfect way, and that was the poll question during our live show, and it was very close. Which coordinator will have a bigger impact? 54% Vic Fangio, and then 46% Kellen Moore. So it's close. I'm with you. I think it's Fangio. The offense has so many pieces. The offense statistically last year was still a top 10 unit, even though they were so difficult to watch because of how vanilla and predictable they were. But I'm already expecting big things from the offense. The defense last year, though, was historically bad and one of the worst defensive units I have ever seen the Eagles put out on the football field. So I think that Vic Fangio can really elevate that defense. It's also a defense compared to the offense where you have Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, and Saquon Barkley as like new faces. Everybody else returns. On defense, though, you lose Hassan Reddick. You bring in Bryce Huff. You have C.J. Gardner-Johnson now. You have Devin White. You have a couple of young players who you need to develop. Last year, the secondary was awful. They couldn't stop a damn nosebleed. And so I think that Fangio can have the bigger impact this year for the reasons that you mentioned. Great minds think alike. You know what's great? The deal on this Eagles shirt, the Brotherly Shove shirt. We promoted this a couple of times here on the show because so many people are getting these nationwide and worldwide, and I had to get one myself. Only $22. Just a straight-up steal for the best, most dominated, and most underrated play in football. Chatsports.com/brotherlyshove. Get yours today. That link is down below in the show notes and in the comment section of today's show. Andrew Nathan again. What are your thoughts on trading for Matthew Judon? He's in the last year of his contract, cap hit of $14 million, but the Patriots would be on the books for $7 million. I mentioned him on our segment of post-June 1 trade targets. You are, I'm not going to say thin at edge rusher, but I have question marks there. Can Josh Sweat bounce back? Can Nolan Smith break out? Bryce Huff has had 1 year of production. Brandon Graham is old. So I have concerns a little bit at the edge rusher spot. Matthew Judon coming off a torn biceps, but he's been a highly productive player. Cap hit a 14 mil. Patriots on the books for 7. Would I be interested in Matthew Judon on an expiring deal for $7 million? Yeah, I would. The only thing is he held out of OTAs because he wants a new contract. So is he willing to be a lame duck with Philadelphia on an expiring deal? Carol Hosey just joined the show. What have you heard on Kendall Milton? Love you, Chase. Thank you. I love you too. And thank you for watching the show. Haven't heard anything from Kendall Milton. If we're talking running backs, all of the talk has been around Saquon Barkley, rightfully and deservedly so, because he's a superstar running back when he's able to stay healthy. I think Kendall Milton, if he's able to impress people, it'll come during training camp when the pads are on and he can use his large, physical, strong frame to pick up yards on short yardage situations. OTAs and minicamp, you're not tackling. You're barely getting physical. Pads are not popping, so it's difficult to gauge what a player like that can do. The Razor, I know the defense as a whole was bad last year, but I'm down on Josh Sweat. Plus, I'm not sure how well he fits into the new scheme yet. What are your thoughts on his place on this line? Look, he had 11 sacks in 2022, got off to a solid start last year, and then the back half of the year, he was a non-factor. I think that went a long way in why the Eagles decided to restructure his contract. I'm with you too. I'm not sure how much of a scheme fit he is. To me, he's more of a 4-3 end. He's not really a 3-4 guy. And Vic Fangio is going to ask some of his edge rushers to drop back in coverage. Hopefully it's his own look if Josh Sweat has to drop back, because he's not going man for man with running backs coming out of the backfield or tight ends, that's for sure. I think this will be his last year in Philadelphia. Lion Fighter, do you think that things will be clunky with 2 new coordinators? It has to be a little. I think those are big reasons why the Eagles were just so up and down, inconsistent, and frustrating to watch last year, is because you had all of the new concepts, new playbook, you had 2 new coordinators, and they were both inexperienced. If there's one thing working for Fangio and Kellen Moore, it's the experience that they have. So they're not going to be overwhelmed. They've seen everything that the NFL game has to offer. They both have very, very impressive resumes. Starting off with the Green Bay Packers is difficult because I think that's a really good and underrated team. But things could be clunky, not as clunky as last year. Let's go with that. But again, the experience of Fangio and Moore could help them in that area. That's a great question. LFX, my guy. Andrew Nathan, do you believe that the reason we haven't signed Justin Simmons is because the Eagles are happy with the potential position change for Avonte Maddox to safety, or is he holding out for money? Eagles have money. They have 27 mil, and there's no doubt that signing Justin Simmons makes you a better football team. I don't think that we've seen a massive decline in Justin Simmons' game. Talking about a 4-time All-Pro. Vic Fangio knows him well. So what's the holdup? The holdup could be, okay, we have C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship. Let's see what they look like at safety. Let's see how Avonte Maddox can hold up and see how he can perform at the safety spot. Let's try out James Bradberry. Let's get him on the field. Let's assess it. Let's scout it. Let's break down the tape. If the Eagles are not confident in the safety spot, that's when they make a move. And Howie Roseman has always been aggressive in improving his football team, but he wants context. He wants information to decide whether or not he has to improve the team. Justin Simmons could be asking for a decent amount of money. He could look at his resume and say, I lead the NFL in picks since 2016. I'm a 4-time All-Pro. I'm a team captain. I played in multiple complex schemes. I've been highly productive and consistent. I don't think there's a slide in play like there was with Kevin Byard, who still got paid, by the way, by Chicago. He is getting a little bit older as Simmons, entering his age 31 season. But I think all those could be reasons for why he's not yet signed. And yeah, he could be looking for a bag. Millie315, last question here. Which Birds defensive lineman or edge rusher has the most sacks this year? Could I go Jalen Carter with 10 and that leads the team? How about 10.5? 10.5 leads the team, and then you have a couple of other players who have like 8 to 10. I think that's fine. I'm not sure what to expect from Bryce Huff. He has 1 year of double-digit sack production and 1 year of really good production. Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, not sure how much of a scheme fit they are. So Jalen Carter leads it with 10.5. That's my prediction. Subscribe so that you can watch our shows, so that you can be a part of our shows, so that you can ask me questions for thousands of people to see right here on Eagles Now. Thanks for watching. Always a blast opening up the floor and chopping it up with everybody. The Bird Gang is the best.